everybody, this is Brian with the VIP Soundcheck, and I'm honored to be on location at the studio of the world-known metal band Liliac. And I'm honored to be joined by my friend, Papa Liliac himself, Florin Cristea. And Florin, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, I'm very excited to do this interview podcast. It's first time that I'm doing something on location here. I'm always used to do like live streams, but it's amazing. And thank you for coming all the way from Ohio to Georgia.
Yeah, from Erie, PA, actually, where I'm from. So
Yeah, you told me a lot about what's going on
the
there.
snow.
Yeah, and you said that actually they closed the streets, and
Yeah,
that usually doesn't happen
they're
there.
telling people not to go out. So I'm happy to be down here near Atlanta, where it's a lot nicer for sure.
I know. I hope we're gonna get some snow this winter, and hopefully we will. But a lot of people know me by Papa Liliac. The fans are the ones that gave me that name. Uh, I hear a lot of people saying, "Well, Papa Liliac figured it out before he even had the 5 kids, and he probably said to himself, I'm gonna have 5 kids and start a metal band, the next Partridge Family." And to be honest, it wasn't the case. I have a totally different background
Sure.
than what we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
And that's one of the things, and like you said, I've seen people say that, like, "Oh, he's trying to live through his kids. He built this." And knowing you, I know that's not the case. And that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, is really give people the true story of not only how Liliac came to be, but how your life got you to the point where Liliac can choose to be one of the best metal bands in the world. So that's kind of where I wanted to start it. I know you were born in 1980 in Romania.
yes,
And at the time,
yes,
Romania was still under communist rule.
yes.
So kind of walk me through your early life, as little Florin and growing up in Romania.
Well, see, the thing is, in 1980, when I was born, if I was born in the 60s or 70s, I would have lived the 80s metal scene like everybody else. But I actually was introduced to metal music later on when we came to United States. So I was born in a family that was very religious and Pentecostal, where we're talking about men sitting on one side at the church and women on they were separate.
Sure.
All the women had to wear scarves on their head when they were praying and things like that. So, and in the communist times, Pentecostals were kind of considered a cult. They weren't, even though Romania is 98% are Christian, but 89% of them are Greek Orthodox.
Okay.
In Romania. So, then you have the Russians, which are the Eastern Orthodox. So I don't know how Greek Orthodox got in Romania, especially that Romania is a Latin-speaking country.
Right.
So how Romania was formed, the Romans back in the day came over. There was a tribe called Dacians, and they had the war, and the Romans won the war, and the soldiers never went back home. So they married the Dacian girls and they fought Romania. And actually, Romanian means citizen of Rome.
Okay.
So we're half Romans, half Dacians. But, I was there in 89 when the revolution happened. My father, in, I think, 1987, I remember I was 7 years old, he tried to cross the border to come, to United States. Well, actually, he tried to make it to Australia. They just wanted to get out of Romania and, have the family, the freedom that they have in this, like in Australia or in the US, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom that we didn't have there. But him and his friends got caught at the border when they were trying to sneak out. And he did 9 months in a communist jail.
Oh.
So I remember, my mom talking about it. And I was a kid. I remember waiting on the phone to talk to him, from the jail. So that really helped him when the revolution happened. I was there in 89. I remember hearing all the gunshots. A lot of people died, which was really sad. I was 9 years old when that happened. But, the amazing thing that him going to, to jail and getting that certificate in 1990 when a friend of his asked him to come to U.S., he was able to get approved to, immigration approved him to live here and get a green card and bring his whole family.
Okay.
So that was really good in the sense of, because after 89, you wouldn't get approved to live in the United States because political cases wouldn't work, or asylum anymore.
Sure. Now, going back to that time after your father was arrested, went to prison, and before you were able to join him in the U.S., when he was still in prison, how did that? I mean, were you afraid that you were never going to see him again, or what was
Oh
going through
yeah, oh
your
yeah.
mind then?
I mean, I was a kid. I was 7 years old. Like I said, I think I was starting school soon, and not to have your father around, and knowing, and communists, you didn't know what to expect, like what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
because now there's like, oh, so this guy was Pentecostal, and they're trying to escape, because it's weird here in the United States right now. They have the immigration, and it's like they're fighting for people to come in. There was the other way.
Yeah.
People to get out, they wouldn't allow that. Communists were very tough. The dictator didn't want nobody to leave the country. They closed the border for anybody to get out. And if you tried, he just needed people for
Sure.
his factories and industrial. That's why I remember my mom used to tell me that I think after a mother would have 6 kids during communist times, she wouldn't have to work ever in her life. She would get pension for life. He was
Okay.
encouraging families to have a lot of kids. My wife comes from a family of 12 kids.
Okay.
So, it was interesting. I mean, see, Romania was not a communist like a Russian communist. It was independent,
Okay.
but he still had the mentality, and Romania had to pay a lot of dues to the Russians, because they said, we saved you from the Nazis, from the Germany, and I remember it was hard. We didn't have food. You have rations, like bread, certain amount of you could buy a day per family, or things like that. You couldn't just go and buy whatever you wanted. You just was limited because it wasn't enough
Sure.
for everybody. So that's tough.
Sure. Kind of sounds like almost the Russians had almost like a mafia style, like you got to pay us to protect you kind of plan.
Yeah, yeah. And in '89, actually, he paid off all the debt. But that's when I don't know if you guys seen on the news that him and his wife got shot by the whoever did the revolution or
Yeah.
something. I was 9 years old, so I didn't understand much. I tried to go back and watch the history, but 1992, we were able to be reunited with my dad. So I come from a family of 5 siblings, and we moved to California. And you know what's interesting? Because I remember I was always afraid of syringes and needles. They had us, before we left Romania, they took our blood test. They did all kind of to see if we have any disease or any illnesses. And then when we came here, they did the same thing over again. And I was so scared of, drawing blood, and it was crazy. And then they did the TB test and vaccines. And that's when you come legally, you do all those stuff. They
Right.
wouldn't allow anybody to come here with all kind of, which is the right way. I
Sure.
always believe in doing everything legally in the right way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now, when you came over, I believe you were 12 years old when you
12
joined
years
your
old
dad,
in 1992.
and that was in California.
Yes.
How tough was it coming a 12-year-old boy on the other side of the world, different language, different culture? How tough was that for you?
It was really hard. It was really hard because I had to learn English. Even now, I still have the accent, as you can tell. But it took me 2 years to kind of understand what the kids are saying. And some kids, they kind of made fun of me in a way. They bullied me, and I didn't know what they're saying. And I was in an ESL class, the only blonde, young, skinny kid with a lot of, Mexicans came from, to learn English.
Sure.
So I was the only one that was different and not speaking English, you know what I mean? But luckily I had a friend, a Romanian friend who was tall, so nobody could really, they tried to beat me up or something. They were scared of him. So he kind of saved me on that, being buddies with somebody who was tall and big
Nice.
for his age. But it was hard, learning. Like even right now for my mom, I have to sometimes translate if she gets a medical bill or something like that, because you have to learn the language again. But uh, we found a church, Romanian church, where we got to spend our time, and my parents was, still believed in, keeping the religion and the faith. So we kind of built ourselves around the Christian church community.
Sure. So that had to make it a lot easier.
But the
coming over.
Romanian one.
Yeah. That way you had a culture, at least something that was familiar when you were here.
Yeah, because they used to speak Romanian at church. Because I think, like, if I would have just not hang out with Romanian kids from church, I probably would have not had an accent by now. But if you just speak English when you have to at school and this, but at home you speak Romanian, that's how you're stuck with an accent.
Sure.
For the rest of your life, I guess.
Now, coming over, and we had talked a little bit briefly about this, that, you said you started to get into music when you got here to the U.S. So kind of what was your first experience where, like, you fell in love with music that you can remember?
Oh, man. The thing is, I always loved music since I left Romania, but I remember telling my mom that I wanted an accordion. That was my first instrument, accordion. And she was like, well, I don't know if your dad's going to let me buy it. So my sister, who was already working, and she said, I'll just tell him that your sister bought it for you. So she secretly bought the accordion for me. And, and I started learning how to play the accordion. So I really loved it. And I remember somebody was giving away a upright piano for free. So my dad brought it, put it in the garage. I used to go there and always play on the piano and then play on the accordion. And that was, I was a keys guy. Everything that had to do with keyboards, piano, accordion, I could still play it. The only thing is I wish I would have gone to school for music because I had so much passion for it. But my mom was kind of like, well, God doesn't want you to do, music, like rock and metal for my parents was the devil. I mean, metal music, you go to hell if you do music. So that's why I'm saying that a lot of people think that I planned the family.
Right.
But I didn't even listen to rock and metal growing up. I knew about rock. I knew about metal bands, but I was afraid to cross, because I thought it was bad.
Sure. So what was your first experience with metal that made you think, oh, this is something I want to get into?
Well, that was later on, which,
Okay.
like I said, I did try to pursue my career because, so that's what happened. I got married young, like 18 years old. I was 18 years old when I got married in 1998. I met my wife at church, we were saying Romanian church. And, my mom and dad was kind of against it because my wife was older than me. And it was kind of a little bit of, how do you say it? Like, not revenge, but I was like, you know what? Because they were opposing it. Once I'm 18, because I was dating her. And actually, I was a minor. So she could, if my mom knew, she could have go to court and file something and get my wife now in trouble because, and but once I turned 18, then I just, I proposed, I guess, and then we got married 6 months later. And then my mom was okay with it because, once we're married and stuff like that. But it was tough because when you get married young and you don't have a career, I did have music, but it wasn't a career. I wasn't, I was just playing in churches and
Sure.
it wasn't a career. And I was working as electrician. Then we had 2 kids. And then we moved to Oregon because California life was really hard. It was kind of unaffordable. And I had a friend and was like, hey, come to Oregon. Everything is cheaper here. And it's just like when I moved there, I was like, well, what are we going to do now? Because electrician, so we ended up working for elder care business because somebody told us, man, you can make, you just stay at home, raise your kids, and also take care of older people. You just got to buy a house that has the elder care business, not knowing that you really don't have any freedom because it's 24/7.
Right.
So you would have to hire somebody to come and for a day or two so you could go take a break or go out with your family. And it was really hard. And I literally, that's why I have back problems because I had to transfer older people from, in their wheelchair in bed,
Sure.
and it's affecting me now. But that experience, I really liked it because I got to talk to them a lot, when we're serving lunch or dinner. And it's very interesting to hear their life stories. And, like songs are stories. You see what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? And that really got me going because I got to hear all these stories, everybody's life story, like what they did in their life, And I was observing everything, and I became friends with them. The only sad part was when, some of them passed away because they would get sick, or it was kind of, you get attached to them. And the other side was, it was hard to raise the kids because, you had to be hands on. So, it was tough. It was tough to do both.
Sure.
It was
Now,
very hard.
around this time, was it around that you also kind of started your own pop career? And I know that you went by Chris Florin for a while.
Yes. I try to keep that hidden, but it's all over YouTube. And sometimes Lilac fans kind of, I think they're making fun of me, and they just share it and say, "Oh, check out Papa Liliac when he was young." And some of them say, "No, we actually like it, but
That's
I
a
don't
catchy
think so."
song.
You know. Yes, I did. I did because, like I said, I started doing pop music, which was hard to, because, like I said, I used to do only Christian church music.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to do music. And I remember playing church music and going to record at a professional studio. And it was like, man, you are 22 years old, but you sound like you're making music, somebody who's 60 years old. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, like, well, this music, traditional music that you sing and play, only older people doing it. So but why don't you kind of see what's going on with the today? And you're young, you gotta sound young, right? So that's what kind of got me into, and being very passionate for music, to start listening to music and see what's going on in the top 40s. And I always loved good vocalists. I was always about, if it's a good voice and a great song, I'm in.
Yeah.
But if it's not a good voice, I didn't like Bob Dylan, for example. I was
Yeah.
like, his voice is not really doing anything for me at that point. But and even then, when I was doing pop music, uh, I always appreciate Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, because they were very popular.
Yeah.
This was well, it was popular because I listened to more the classic rock music. But when I really got into the music, the metal scene, was watching a documentary from Queen,
Okay.
and that when I saw about Freddie Mercury, how they came in and the music they wrote, and that got me hooked on rock, and then I was hungry to know more. Then I watched the documentary that Metallica did, the Black Album, and then I was hooked. I was like, that's it, metal is my thing. And I became a metalhead after that.
It's funny how Metallica does that. As we talked about before, I was a big country fan. That's all I listened to until my cousin made me listen to Nothing Else Matters.
Wow.
And that just kind of opened up a whole new world. So I know exactly what you mean about Metallica being kind of a driving force.
Yeah, and James Hetfield actually had a lot of backlash with Nothing Else Matters.
Yep.
He said in an interview that when, as you know, he had 4 albums. They were all, thrash metal and rough. And when they put the Black Album out, which was more commercial, he said that a fan spit in his face and said, "How could you do a ballad? You sold out." And I mean, imagine that,
Yeah.
and he said, "Look, you got to progress in music." And actually, the Black Album is the best-selling album of all time
Absolutely.
for Metallica.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I remember seeing something, and it might have been that same documentary, or it could have been later, where they were talking to Jason Newsted. And he
yeah.
addressed that, and he said, yeah, people said we sold out. And he's like, you're right. We sold out every arena that we played. That's the best way
I
to
like
answer that.
I like that. That's a good answer, especially for these gatekeepers, which is, we talked about that. It's interesting how effective they are. You got, in my opinion, you got to be open
Yep.
with music, because good music is good music in every genre of music. Yes, you get hooked on to some certain genre and you want to hear more of that, or you like that band to stick, but you should be open if a band has other visions, or you know what I mean? And especially if you stay in the same realm. But Yeah. So basically, in Oregon is when I started doing that, and but there came a point because I did a photo shoot for my album, Million Feelings, and I paid the photographer to take the picture, and he was like, "Hey, before you leave, I need you to sign this agreement." And I was like, "Oh, but what is it? It's just a model release." I trusted the photographer, so I said, "Sure." So I just signed, which I gave him the right to the pictures. And then I moved on. I put the album out, and nothing major happened because it wasn't my cup of tea at that point. But then my brother was like, "Hey, I think 6 months later, was like, did you do a contract with AT&T?" I was like, "No, why?" And my brother lived in California, and like, well, I walk in the AT&T store, and there's a big poster of you with a microphone, and I said, "What are you talking about?" I was like, literally, then I went in another AT&T, and you're in every AT&T. I was like, okay, so I got in the car, I drove to an AT&T. I was in Oregon, and I walk in, and there's the picture, me with the microphone, and I'm like, man, how did this happen? You know what I mean? And then I called the photographer, and it was like, well, I did give the rights to Getty Images. So basically, I think he didn't even make any money with that photo, because he gave it to Getty Images, and they were the one that made money. So I was thinking, okay, well, if
Where's my cut?
I was like, if I sue him, he was just a regular guy like me. That's not gonna work. I already signed an agreement. So I didn't make absolutely any money, zero money with that. But it wasn't even about the money. I said, at least if I can get one of my songs as a ringtone of all the AT&T users, so I can get my music out there. Because right now I was a model on that. Everybody thought there's a model, and I'm like, I don't even model, man. I mean, I got 5 kids. What modeling career you're talking about? I did look young back then, I didn't have any beard or anything.
Had the baby face.
So I guess it does look like a model, but that wasn't the purpose. But at least I said, what am I getting out of it? I didn't get anything out of it. So that's kind of taught me a lesson to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
Which later on with Liliac, I didn't, I was very careful about what we're signing, what we're not signing, and I wouldn't, it taught me a lesson, because otherwise you're not benefiting at all.
Yeah, it can be taken advantage of big time.
Yeah, and I said, look, I'm doing on the side, I'm investing money in my music career. At least if that happened, I want to benefit off of it. But it didn't. But that helped me move back to California, because I was like, what about if I move back and I did, my music that I did, I signed it with the publisher because I knew I couldn't do much with it. So he placed it in movies, and I told him about it. I was like, well, let me try to get in touch with AT&T and see if we can do something. And I said, in the meantime, maybe I move back to LA, and I'll pursue the career, and maybe something could happen. So it was tough, because it was 2009 when, remember, George W. Bush was, and everybody was losing their houses. I don't know if you remember that time.
The housing bubble of 2008.
Yes. So we did lose everything. We actually had to go through bankruptcy. And, with 5 kids, and we did Chapter 7, meaning you can't keep anything, but they'll forgive you of all your debt.
So you had to sell your house and everything?
No, they just came and took it. I had to give everything.
Oh, wow.
So even like we had a minivan, and, my father-in-law just gave us a car, because when you do Chapter 7, you can't have more than, I think, $1,200 in the bank. You can't have a car worth than $800 or $1,500. There's a few rules like that. So they asked me, do you want to keep anything? I said, no. The only thing is, which I'm really happy about it, because I got on credit cards the studio that I have, all the equipment to record. And I said, well, they're going to come and get it. They never came. Really? So when we moved back to California, the family, I got to take the studio with me, and nobody came to take it back. So I was like, man, that's good. So we moved to California, and 3-bedroom apartment, 7 people, it was very hard.
Yeah.
It was tight. But the kids were little then. Like Ethan and Justin were 1 and 2 years old. Melody, Sam, and Abby. I think Sam was only about like 8, 9 years old. So they were young.
Sure.
And also Sam was pursuing acting and modeling. And I thought, hey, look, we're going to be back in Hollywood. That's where they're going to do it.
Makes sense.
And I did take him to a lot of auditions. He got a few roles, some Disney stuff. But once he got his braces on, that was it. He wouldn't get roles anymore. And there's so many kids. Like used to take him to audition. It was a line of 200 kids. And you had to be lucky and very unique or different to really get the role.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know?
Now, one of the things I was wondering, and you had mentioned that growing up, the church that you went to was very strict.
Yeah.
Kind of ultra conservative and things. And when you started with your pop career and you wanted to make music, did that cause friction with you in the church?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got excommunicated from the Romanian Pentecostal church because actually they're important. They had the biggest church in U.S., the biggest Romanian Pentecostal church in U.S. They had like over 3,000 members, and I guess they were kind of important role when they had the conventions. Like they were leading the whole thing, and I was part of it. And then when I was doing the pop music, and I was, even when I did the music, the lyrics were very generalized. I wouldn't use the word baby and this, so people could take it different ways. If they wanted to take it as a Christian song, it was just kind of talking about love, life, like you could take it if you wanted love for the one you love, or you could love for God, so it was very, but I guess they saw the music video and they were like, and then when I was hired to do a wedding at that church in the reception, that pastor came and was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm hired to perform for the wedding." He said, "Oh, he said, you're not allowed. We saw your videos and he excommunicated me." So I was like, okay, but I said, "I'll leave, but you have to pay the guy because he already paid me. I was hired to do it." "Well, you could finish your performance, but then I don't want to see you ever again here or any Romanian churches in the United States of America." I was like, okay, then I'm fine. And that's when I started going to American church.
Yeah.
Or, from then on. But it was tough. It was tough because, I always felt like, man, I'm guilty. I'm guilty for, maybe God is going to punish me because, but then I had so much love for music that I was like, it's impossible to not be able to do music. And I wanted to be a career. Like I want to do that for a living and not just, here and there.
Yeah. It's like he gave you that love and passion for it. Why would he do that if he didn't want you to pursue it?
Exactly. And that's what really, but in time, I right now I don't feel guilty at all what I'm doing. Because, I think LILIAC's music and the music we've done, even though we've done some Dio songs that has a little bit darker to it, but it's not like that.
Right.
I think our music is very clean, man. I mean, show us anything wrong with our music. I mean, LILIAC is not singing about the devil, it's not singing about witches or about magic or witchcraft or nothing like that. And my kids are Christian, the whole family. My wife is very religious, so but even right now, my mom and our family, they love me as being their son and the kids, but they don't listen to our music.
Yeah.
They think we're on the highway to hell.
AC/DC. So.
Yeah, I'm on my high.
No, and that's one of the things as a fan, and then obviously we become friends, is that I know, and one of the things that I love about you guys as a family and a band is that you haven't, while you're not preachy about your faith, you haven't shied away from it either. I mean, even to the point where after shows, Melody will be very open and pray for people and, kind of leave it like, hey, Jesus loves you. And I so respect the fact that you guys do that. And it's like, I know you've taken heat from it, not only from the church and from your family, but from people who aren't Christians. And I know that's got to be kind of weird, getting those slings and arrows coming your way.
Well, the thing is, I think, we know that there's a lot of Christian bands out there, but I think that what Melody does for the faith is more effective because, it's a metal show. A lot of people don't come there. They come to see the music that they like.
Yep.
And then at the end of the show, she gives a blessing. I think that's very effective without even doing extra stuff and try to do Christian songs to put them in the set. And I think that's already working so much because a lot of people are appreciating it. I mean, we haven't had anybody come at the show, hey, why would you do that? You know, because at the end of the day, they could, if they don't want to, they could just leave because it's at the end.
Right.
You see? So, but, you know, again, to come to how it was with Liliac there in California, when, you know, I installed my studio in the girls' room. The only reason I did the girls' room because they kept the room cleaner. You know how boys are, clothes everywhere. And I was like, man, if I do in the boys' room, because during the day I would use the room because I would have clients that would come and record. And, you know, and then in the evening, you know, they would just, they had those futons, they would make a bed.
Oh, yeah.
And they would just sleep during the night. So I remember sometimes they would text me, Dad, I need to get something from my closet. And I said, okay, hold on, let me finish recording this part and you could come and get your clothes. So it was tough.
Yeah.
It was rough because, you know, that's the only way I could do it. And, you know, I recorded a lot of rappers, a lot of singers. It was hard with rappers because you know how their language is.
Sure.
I was thinking, man, my kids get to hear all this stuff, but I had to make a living, you know, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, I had passion for music and I was hoping that something bigger will happen, that I could maybe open a studio away from home and, you know, then I could just, you know, finance and you know, pay the bills without doing it inside our apartment, which led to where we at right now, which it happened, but in a different way. Because I thought probably one of the songs or maybe one of the artists that I work with is going to blow up and then, you know, I will get more work and, you know, I'm in LA. So in LA, anything can happen. But, you know, during this time, the kids grew up around the studio and kept hearing music. And I started working with Sam at first, you know, and you know, Abby and Melody was kind of wanted to be part of it too. But my wife kept saying, hey, you got to listen to Melody, man. She's got a voice. She's got something. And I think she was only like 8 or 9 years old. And I was like, look, right now, I don't have time. And even she said, you know, she's, you know, and she was probably singing when I wasn't around. And my wife would hear her singing. And my wife tells me that when she was little and she went to the doctor and, you know, they wanted to check her tonsils and she said, just say ha. And even the doctor back then told my wife, was like, man, she's going to be a singer one day because her voice, just saying ah at 3 years old, is like a big resonance coming out of her throat. And we didn't know what's going to, like I said, I was minding my own business, working with the music that I thought I could do. And then just to kind of listen to my wife, I said, okay, I'll tell Melody to learn a cover song, you know, song that she likes, and I'll record her. And if she sounds good, then we'll see what we can do. So Melody was so excited. She really wanted to do this. She really wanted to be a singer. And so she did. I think she learned one of Rihanna's songs. And then I said, okay, let's record it after she learned it. And then when I recorded in the studio, because it's different, you know, people, you hear it this way, that way, but when you record in the studio, you're under the microscope. And that's when you really, really know. And when I recorded her, my jaw just dropped. I was like, man, I've been looking to produce a singer or an artist like this. And it's my own daughter who has this gift. God gave it to me right here.
Yeah.
I was blown away by, you know, not that she was technical, but the texture of the sound. And, you know, her voice was just there. Something that people have to work so much. She was like born with that. And then I thought to myself, well, if I train that and I work with her and with everybody else, you know, because I was working with Sam to sing and he was singing, but he didn't have that voice. Right. He had a soft voice. But I said, if I work with her and then Sam could still be singing maybe a verse here and there, we could have something. And then I remember this older guy that used to come to my studio and was like, hey, as I was telling him, I'm starting to work with my kids. And he was like, why don't you take them on the Sala Monica Pier? That's the best stage where they could perform in front of people. They can get the confidence.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So I looked into it, and it said, well, you could do a permit for $37 a year per person, and you could perform anytime. You just go there and set up, but you have to have a portable PA system, a battery, in a converter, I think, or inverter. No, converter.
Okay.
You know, where you hook up to the battery and then you plug in your PA system.
Yep.
So I bought all that, and then we went. So Monday through Friday, I was working in the studio. Saturday and Sunday, I would take them there on the Santa Monica Pier.
Nice.
The 3 kids at the beginning.
And so just to be clear, because as we said at the beginning, and people have accused you of, hey, you did this because you wanted to have kids solely so you could have a band. I just want to make everybody clear that was this their choice that they wanted to do, or something that you said, hey, I think you guys like this, I'm going to push you into it?
Well, the thing is, it was a combination, because they said, and I remember I told them that. I don't remember. They were like, well, we want to do this, and, you know, because they knew I have the studio, and they were young, and I told them, I said, look, if I put time aside, you know, and you want me to do this, it's not going to be easy, because I don't want to play around.
Right.
If I would want to do it, I'm going to...
You don't have time to waste.
Yeah. So I'm going to push you like a coach would push an athlete to become a champion. That's what I told them. Oh, yeah, Dad. Oh, yeah. Not knowing how much work it takes to get a song out, because a song, you can't just put it out. You know, if it doesn't sound good, you got to go back and re-record it. You got to go rehearse it. You know, back in the day, you know, with great bands, I remember talking to this producer, and this producer was like, you know, when a band would come in and they were not ready, I would just kick them out. Say, go practice 2 weeks and come back. You know, now these days, a lot of artists and bands are like, well, can't you fix it in the computer? And can't you? And you're like, I can. Well, just do it. And I'm thinking like, but what are you going to do live?
Exactly.
You know, I remember having this singer who come, and instead of paying money to take vocal lessons that sound good, she was paying me to melodyne her voice and auto-tune it so it'll be perfect in tune. And I'm thinking like, and that's why her career, she never made it.
Right.
Because we did that. She sounded good.
But it's fake.
But then when she couldn't get gigs because, you know, after a show, people like, what's this? She couldn't sing.
Yeah.
Good. Meaning like she could sing, but you don't have that natural, or, you know, and, you know, I believe in vocal lessons that could help you sing really good. And if you have passion, you know, there's people that are very talented and they don't have to work so hard to it. They're just born with ability. Other people could work hard and get to that level. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, if you're tone deaf, then I don't know if you can do anything, to be honest.
Then you find another way to be part of it.
Yeah. You probably just become a producer. But even then, you know, because sometimes I have to show with my ability, like to Melody, I want you to do this. But if you really listen to me, like, you know, what is he talking about? Because he's not demonstrating. But I know what I want, and I kind of tell her I just want more attitude. And with trying to show her me singing it, which wouldn't sound good in metal music, but she gets what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And then she does it, and I'm like, okay, that's the one, you know. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot, you know, me and Melody work together, you know, and she's very comfortable. She knows exactly what I want. And we work very good together, you know. I mean, we've been working for 15 years now, recording. And, you know, she never took vocal lessons in her life with a coach.
Yeah.
She never did.
You know, one of the interesting things, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier today, that there's literally people that have accused you of using AI and using auto-tuning on Melody's voice. And it's like, do you know what auto-tuning sounds like? It's not. There's no way that you're getting that from auto-tuning.
Well, you know, I mean, I did demonstrate one time, because see, the thing is, if I put auto-tune on Melody's voice, especially she has a raspy, natural voice, it won't sound good. It will sound very robotic, you know. It does, a lot of rappers do it because it gives a cool effect to them, and a lot of singers, I mean, I know singers that wasn't good at singing, but sometimes, like even auto-tune, if you're way off, the auto-tune freaks out. So that's why I would melodyne it first. So meaning, I would record it in the Melodyne software where you see the voice, and I would place it in, and I would just use the Autotune as an effect. Because if you're like 2, 3 steps too low, then the note, the Autotune is like, where do I take you? Because it's
Yeah.
trying to figure out what, because you got to put the key that the song is in. So the Autotune just goes and Autotune's in that key. So even Autotune, to know how to use it, you have to know the music, the scales, and the keys that the songs are in. Because if you
Sure.
don't know, let's say the song is in G minor and you set the Autotune in A major, or let's say A sharp major, the Autotune will keep you in that key, so it won't sound good.
Absolutely.
So, but like I said, Autotune definitely is not an option. It wouldn't sound good. A lot of people wouldn't like Lilac's music if we use Autotune.
Yeah. It wouldn't
was
be
just
anywhere
like
near
it.
what it is.
No. I think, and it's hard to make it in the music industry, especially independently. So I think the reason Liliac made it is because of their youth, Melody having a unique voice. Samuel could shred like nobody else. I mean,
Yep.
you see how it is. And also family. They're a family. They're like, wow, there's a
Yeah.
siblings, because I see a lot of reactors like, man, they look alike. They don't even know their family, but they're really loving it. So that means family is not the main thing that they like it, because there's other families out there that put music, but they're not as big as Liliac is.
Exactly.
I think that what really did it was, and also choosing the covers that they did, because a lot of people were asking, man, how can these kids that were born after 2000 be able to, not only that they sang or played the song, but they brought the emotion and the feeling and the attitude, exactly what Ozzy Osbourne did, or Ronnie James Dio back in the day,
Yep.
or Black Sabbath. And it was a shocking thing. And when I remember when Rainbow in the Dark hit the scene, the music scene, when it went on YouTube and Facebook, people went crazy. They were like, holy cow, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, even Vinny Appice, the drummer, he messaged me and it was like, my God. And he said, so many bands covered Rainbow in the Dark or Holy Diver, and they sent it to me. And he was like, when they sent Liliac, he didn't want to listen. He's like, I heard enough. And then he said his best friend, people kept sending to him. I was like, man, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then later on, one of his friends, close friends, said, hey, you got to watch this. And he said, when I clicked on it, it was like, oh, kids, oh, man. When the music came in, but when Melody opened her mouth, he was like, oh, my gosh, I was getting chills.
Yeah.
Vinny said, it's like, that's why he called her Melodio.
Exactly.
It was like a reincarnated or the female version of Dio. And see, the thing is, the music that Liliac does, you can't say that it sounds like Dio
Right.
music or Black Sabbath. They do their own music. But yes, Melody's voice, because she was inspired by Ronnie James Dio, did help, or has that sound of the classic metal, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rare. And rare is good.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have so many Taylor Swifts that are copying Taylor Swift, and we have all this kind of music, which is great. But why not? And that's what a lot of people are missing out. For a 13 years old young girl to fall in love and have her main inspiration, Ronnie James Dio, that's rare.
Yeah.
That's very, very rare.
Absolutely.
And, they should appreciate that.
Yeah, because it's not cookie cutter. It's not the same thing over and over. I think one of the things that when you were mentioning some of the things of some of the reasons why Liliac is popular and successful, I think one that you left out was the live show. It's not just how they sound. I mean, I know a lot of people that after they saw them live were like, nah, I'm a fan. Because the energy that they bring, that you can see the passion. And to me as a fan, that's what sets a good band from a great band. Is when they
Yeah.
come out and have a great show with it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Going on the Pier is where they got to perform every weekend for 8 years. And they were able to connect with the crowd. And, I never went to school for music. I never went to college. I just did it, and I was learning as I was working. And it was very interesting because I was always based on energy and feeling in emotion. I was not about technical or so much. If that song made me feel something, that was good.
Yep.
If that voice touched me and was beautiful, it was good. Because there's a lot of bands out there, but their singers are not that good. I mean, they can sing, but they're not.
You don't connect with
soulful
them.
enough. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
connect, and it is what it is. I mean, there's people that like those bands, but if it doesn't, lead singer is very important in my opinion because it's the
Absolutely.
lead.
I
Like that's
agree.
why I love Queen because of Freddie Mercury, Dio because of Ronnie James Dio, Black Sabbath with Ozzy and Dio. We're talking about Aerosmith with Steven Tyler. Without him,
Yep.
there's no Aerosmith, and their voice are just phenomenal. Anyway, I could keep going, but now I'm taking my kids on the pier, and then about 5 years later, because I added Ethan and Justin because I was thinking like, okay, so what are they gonna do? They're just gonna stay home and play video games. I said, let's just, you know, uh, take them with us on the pier. And a lot of people criticize like family. Well, why don't they're not gonna have a childhood. I mean, think about this. They could just hanging out with their friends. So they had friends, but all their friends knew the rules. If they want to hang out with them, they had to come to the pier. So all their friends would come to and spend the weekend on the pier with my kids. But Saturday, uh, there was because they have the beach volleyball right there on the pier. And I remember this lady that was coaching her son and a whole team of kids. They really liked the performance and said, hey, look, because we like you guys, we want to offer you free lessons. So for 2 years, my kids got free lessons. So every Saturday before we went to perform on the pier, they would go and train to play volleyball. And they loved that.
Nice.
So then there was other activities that we would do. We would take their roller blades and, I think even the skater, and they would just,
So you're
we
having
had
fun with it. Yeah.
And you were there on the beach every weekend, every Saturday and every Sunday. But also, we perform because that's what really helped them, craft their talent.
Yeah.
And also, they were making money with tips, which I open each one of them account. Like imagine Ethan and Justin, 5, 6 years old, they have account and they have money in their account. I mean, that's not a bad thing, is it?
Absolutely.
Because I told them, I said, look, even with their they wanted to do taekwondo lessons. I said, I can afford it. I'm already working in the studio and I'm paying the rent and the food and gas and everything. I can't. And they said, well, we'll just take from the money on the pier and pay for the taekwondo lessons. And renting a studio, we'll just get from there and then we'll split the money. So first they pay their expenses and then they split the money. And I think it was a great thing. It was a great thing because they knew, hey, to work hard for something.
It kind of sets them up with that entrepreneurial spirit from a young age, which is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And I like how like you mentioned playing the volleyball, doing the things that are there. So it kind of took away the thought of, hey, this is a chore. This is something that you have to do. They were having fun with it. I like how you did that.
Yeah. Well, I always told them that, if besides talent, hard work is very important. And I
Mhm.
knew that. To be honest, if I would have to take back from the beginning, I would do the same thing. I wouldn't do it differently because I see other kids their age that for like let's say from 12 years old to 18 years old, all they did was playing video games.
Yep.
Okay, what did they gain? I get it, they're really good probably at those video games, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Then and I just don't see a big gain in. I mean, I think you should play video games as a hobby,
Right.
but not
Something
be
in your spare
obsessed with
time
that.
to
Yeah.
relax and yeah.
Because I like to watch movies and do other things on my spare time because it relaxes me from working hard and everything. But to that be unless you're becoming a professional gamer and you're making money with that, then I say go ahead,
Right.
do it. I would encourage you to do it. But just I think it's a waste of money. I mean, not money, of time.
Yeah. And
To
all your
just-
resources.
Yeah. And then later on, you're gonna have to get a job. Especially here in the US, 18 years old, some parents tell them, hey, you gotta move out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you're gonna be forced in a way to get a job. And then you're like, man, I could have worked on my career or something in that meantime.
Sure. Now, one thing you had mentioned that, you know, when you started it, you said, "Hey, if you guys want to do that, that's great, but there's going to be hard work. It's going to be tough." Were there
Yeah.
times when any of the kids were like, "I want to quit. This is," and if there were, how did you get through that?
Well, at that time, they never said that. You know what I mean? And well, you see with Abigail, she got married, and now she's gonna have a baby. She had to step out of the band
Yeah,
for a while, at least. And which we got a new drummer. Paul is phenomenal. Uh, but that's how it is when you get married. If you really, really have the passion and hard work, you're gonna figure out a way to still do it.
yep,
I mean, to be honest with you, I could expect any of them to say, hey, look, there's a point that I want to try something else. Let's say maybe Justin could say, I want to go to college and just focus on that, and I want to take time off. And it's going to be hard for the fans. It's like, wait, well, because even right now, they keep, where's Abby? Where's Abby? And we already announced,
yeah,
she's pregnant at home. The doctor doesn't even let her, she lives in Minnesota, said you can't be traveling back and forth on the airplane. It's not good
yeah.
for the pregnancy. So she said, she came now for Thanksgiving, but after this, she can't be traveling anymore. And, if we have to record a new song or something, what are you going to do? You see, so that's, you got to figure out another way. And she understands, she's okay with it. She supports the band to keep going. And
Sure.
I think, whoever could keep going, they should keep going.
Absolutely. And congratulations, by the way, on the little one. Are we going to officially start calling you Grandpapa Liliac? Is that
I
going
guess. I mean, I'm in shock myself because at 45 years old, I'll be a grandpa. That's kind of uncommon in a way.
You can be the cool grandpa then.
Yeah, I guess. If it's a musician, maybe we'll
There you go.
get him to play something in the band.
And of course, it's going to be your first one, and it's we able to say what the sex is going to be?
Yes. Actually, they just revealed that it's going to be a girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, Melody really wanted it. She called it, and a lot of fans and Patreons were like, "No, it's going to be a boy," and But Melody said, "No, I have a feeling and it's sometimes what Melody wants is Melody gets. It's weird. It's crazy."
She's going to be the cool aunt that teaches her how to scream.
Man, she talks about it all the time, and I think she's gonna spoil that baby a lot.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. And going back to the peer days, it was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun because it was tough too. But like I said, after 5 years, I said to them, look, if you guys really want to do this as a band, you guys need to learn to play instruments. So I took them to Downey Music Center, which was in our city. And Downey, by the way, is where James Hetfield was born and went to high school.
Okay. Lead singer of Metallica.
Yes. And they have there at the high school and the library, he has a guitar autographed by him. And the Carpenters are from Downey as well.
Okay.
She actually died there in the Downey Hospital, and probably they even have a street called Carpenters there in Downey. So it was interesting that we didn't know, because the reason we moved to Downey was like, okay, our family is in Anaheim. There's LA and Hollywood. We got to go to auditions. Where can we move in the middle? So we could be, go to auditions, but also we can go visit our parents. So Downey was right in the middle. Not knowing that that's a very musical. I think Weird Al is from there as well.
Okay.
From Downey. Because before we left Downey to Georgia, we got an award from the mayor of Downey for being a celebrity from Downey. So that was, we have that on tape somewhere. It was during the pandemic though, so everybody was wearing masks, but it is what it is. But the great part was that it was a great experience on the pier. It was hard because it was tiring. I don't know, for some reason, the breeze and the salty air and the salt from the ocean, it would make you tired. Like when I would come home from there and, we had to unload the trailer, and we had a wagon and pull the equipment. But what got me, like I told you, in the meantime, I was watching the documentary and I got hooked onto metal music, Metallica and this. And you know what's crazy? Even though back then Justin Bieber was big, there was no Billie Eilish, there was no Taylor Swift. Well, Taylor Swift was, but she wasn't.
She's
that
still
big.
country at that point, probably.
Probably, yeah. And how big he was, I always would see T-shirts with Metallica on it. Dio, Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Led Zeppelin, a lot of Led Zeppelin, AC/DC everywhere. And I'm like, man, you know, what's this? How come, so because metal fans love to support,
Oh yeah.
and not only that, they're proud of wearing. Now, maybe some girls would wear Justin Bieber, but other people wouldn't wear it because we're like, man, I mean, people make fun of me. You know what I mean? Because it's a different level.
I hide my Justin Bieber shirt.
So that kind of got me hooked, and I was like, what about if Liliac does something more on that genre? And then I started showing them Queen, and they liked it, and I showed Metallica. But at the beginning, when you learn how to play instruments, it's hard to do Enter Sandman or Crazy Train.
Sure.
So they started with I Love Rock and Roll. Those fret songs, they call it the I Love Rock and Roll or Wild Thing. Those songs were easy to play. So they learned that, and I said, let's try it.
Yeah.
So they tried it on the pier, and we saw that the crowd is getting bigger and bigger, and people are like, man, electric guitars, electric bass, drums. And then, they got better. Melody's voice, this is how I thought that they could be a metal band. I said to them, learn Wild Thing, but not the Trucks version, the one that was in the movie with Charlie Sheen.
Oh, Major League. Yeah.
Major League. And I think the band was called X.
I think so, yeah.
X who did it. And, because she doesn't do Wild Thing. She does like, Wild Thing. And I told them, Melody, you guys learn it. So I was just, take him to rehearsal. The first, 3 hours, they're just banging on stuff. They wasn't sounding good at all at rehearsal. And then they said, Dad, we want to do Wild Thing because we worked at home, learn it. I said, okay, let's hear it. And I was kind of like, me working with so many artists and, not hearing something I want to hear. I was kind of bored at the beginning, but I was there. It was just it was kind of an activity at that point. Let's just follow and when they started playing that and down, and the melody started, Wild Thing, I think I was like, I was blown away. I was like, man, you guys can be a metal band.
You're like, we're on to something here.
Yeah, because I knew that metal, you got to have power.
Yeah.
Or like they say, cojones.
Exactly. I know you had some interesting experiences on the pier. I mean, you had a musical celebrity find you guys there.
Oh, yeah. Stuart Copeland from The Police, the drummer. We didn't know that secretly he would, because he would do his jog because he lived not too far away from there. So he would stop, especially, he's from The Police and he hears a metal band or a rock band. Of course, he's going to stop and check us out. And he really liked Abby because he's a drummer. And
okay.
Because he told us later. And then, so Stuart Copeland saw us many times. And he was doing a BBC documentary called On Drums with Stuart Copeland. And I get an email from BBC saying, hey, look, Stuart Copeland, we're doing this and that. And he's requesting if you guys want to be part of the documentary. And I'm like, what? Like this Stuart Copeland? I look him up. It says Stuart Copeland. I think he was the 7th most richest drummer in the world. I'm like, holy cow. Who's the number one, the richest or the most paid drummer? Number one, do you know who it is? Take a guess.
Ooh. I'm thinking probably not Tommy Lee, but he's got to be on that list somewhere.
He is, but he's not number one.
Thinking Rush, maybe?
Ringo Starr.
That makes sense. Yeah. As soon as he starts saying, like, I bet it's a Beatle. Ringo Starr.
He's actually the most paid. He's number one.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Dave Grohl is up there, like on top 10 or
that
5.
makes sense. I mean, with Nirvana and Foo Fighters.
Yeah. So when, and then I said, yes, of course. But then we were trying to figure out, like, okay, on the pier, you need a permit. And I told them, I said, well, why don't we just do it on the boardwalk where, you have the boardwalk and it takes you to the pier. And on boardwalk, people just jog and it's not as busy as the pier, but it is busy,
Right.
I mean, people could stop and there's all these people walking because there's so many people in California, 39 million people, and people go jogging. And so I told them, I said, look, we've done this before. We could just, be there in the morning, set up on the boardwalk, and then you could pull up your cameras and film it. And they said, okay, what we're gonna do, you guys just perform. We'll just arrive with the, Stuart Copeland will just arrive, and then just ask him to come play with you guys, and we'll film all that stuff. So he wanted to do Enter Sandman because he liked the way Liliac did Enter Sandman for some reason. He was like, man, I see why kids today love Enter Sandman, Metallica. That riff is really catchy. I was actually playing on the guitar the other day. So he wanted to play the guitar, actually. And I'm like, man, you're a drummer. But he said, bring an extra guitar and extra amp. And we did. So we set up there. We do the show. But then, I think Melody said, or somebody said, hey, we want to jump on the drums. And he's like, yeah, what do you want to play? And that's the song Not Afraid that we just wrote, Not Afraid. And Melody said, just play a shuffle beat. I said, all right, Sam started. And he just started playing. Man, he got it right away, man. Like just in the groove. And,
awesome.
And he plays with the classic way, with the hand.
Yeah.
He doesn't play like this. What do you call it? Crisscross?
Where he's like the side.
The side way, yeah. But he's phenomenal. I mean, he's a legend. And after that, the autograph Abby's drum skin. And I think Justin said, can you autograph my keyboard stand? Sure. And it was a great experience.
Absolutely.
Followed by 2 weeks later, we get a lawsuit from a guy that was living like about 200 feet from where we're performing. And, we're facing the ocean when we perform. The guy somebody served me with this big papers of a lawsuit, and he wanted $80,000 because he said that we turned the boardwalk into a heavy metal concert and we interrupted his yoga.
Are you serious?
No, I'm serious. I got the lawsuit. I kept that, all the papers, but we had to go to court. We had a date. So I was like, man, right after we performed with Stuart Copeland, I mean, I know we were loud, but, and then I called my attorney. I said, dude, what do we do? It's serious. But he said, if you go there, he said, he can win because he has to have proof that you guys disturbed the decibel wise.
Yeah, there was damages of some kind to him.
Yeah. He said, you can't just say, well, he's disturbing because that's a public place.
Yeah, you weren't playing at night or anything,
no,
correct?
it was actually at noon on a Saturday. It's a weekend. And, there's people, and crazy with Santa Monica, like actually nighttime is the craziest part because there's homeless everywhere. California, I don't know if you know, but
yeah,
California is a lot of homeless. Every bridge, under the bridge is tents, and there's like Venice Beach, there's like a whole row of probably thousands of homeless, like tents next to tent to tent to tent. Is like, it's crazy. And it's really dangerous too, because like in the sand, how they inject themselves with drugs. You can go barefooted. If you go barefooted in the sand.
Oh yeah, because they leave them there.
They leave them there. And imagine some people actually was on the news that it got poked in their, when they went barefooted in the sand. And he was one of those, that the med heads was using, and they had to get treated. And, so I always told my kids, don't go barefooted, because I knew about it. And it's crazy. It's very, I watch my kids like a hawk, to be honest with you, because, homeless, and I want to make sure nothing happens to them. And thank God nothing happened 80 years that we're on the pier. So we went to court with my kids. We're there in the morning, but my attorney advised me what to do. And, he presented the case to the court, and the judge was like, are you saying, because the judge at first, he thought that we were living in the same building, and we're playing music and we're disturbing his peace. And he said, the judge said, are you saying that they perform on the public boardwalk? I said, yeah. Okay. And he said, why would you sue us? Melody was a minor, Ethan was minor, Justin was minor. Why would you sue minors? It's like, well, they're part of the band. So basically, the reason he did the lawsuit, he had a bar, meaning, he was an attorney, that he got the bar, but I don't think he ever used it, because my attorney said, man, he has so many mistakes in the lawsuit that, he said, I could see that he's not using the bar.
So
but
he was a failed attorney is what he was.
Maybe he was a failed. And I don't know, what he was doing to make a living, to live in Santa Monica, that building that's very expensive, to live right on the beach. And, the judge said, look, I'm going to take a break, lunch break. You guys go talk and then come back and then we'll figure out from there. My attorney said, look, you're not going to lose the case, but you imagine going for a whole year and what are you going to gain if you win?
Right.
He said, I could help you. I could give you a discount, a half price an hour, but I got to get paid if I put time in this. You want to do that? And if you win, what do you win?
Yeah.
That you're going to perform in that spot? And he said, just try to settle. Try to settle the case. And that's what I told him when we went outside. I said, hey, I want to settle the case. And this, I'll promise you that we won't play there again as if you just drop the case on that spot. On the pier, you're allowed because you have a permit, but on the boardwalk. So he was like, yeah, but I spent about $1,500 to put this case together. I said, look, man, I didn't make you sue me. I mean, and I said, I got no money. You see, we're coming here on street performing. What are you talking about? And he said, well, let me talk to my wife. So he went with his wife and they were talking and came back and said, okay, if you sign an agreement that you won't play on that spot anymore, then I'll drop the case. I said, all right, we'll sign it. So went back inside. He told the judge, we settle. We're not going to, okay. Boom, case closed.
Wow.
A month later, he moves out because they raised the rent on the apartment. So we actually went and played on that spot again, even though we signed the agreement. I was like, there kind of a revenge.
There you go. And I was thinking, this might be wrong, but I kind of hope he pulled something while he was doing yoga. But that's even better. He had to move.
Yeah, but it was amazing because in the meantime, I got a call from CBS. I got a call from the World's Best TV show, and I remember the lady was a little bit, hey, we saw a crazy train on the Santa Monica Pier. Because, see, I didn't explain how we got on the scene with the metal thing, but we did Enter Sandman. So we did Wild Thing. Mm-hmm. Wasn't happening anything. Then we put Enter Sandman out, and I knew that's a viral video. And a whole year, nothing happened. I think we got like 20,000 views, just probably our friends and relatives and, not relatives, but just, somehow, which is still a lot, but it wasn't, viral thing.
Right.
And I was like, man, you know what? If this is not happening, how about I said, because they were doing Crazy Train and that was our biggest song. Everybody loved that song, especially when Abigail was the hi-hats, those 16s. Man. And I said, how about we do a video on the pier and we just let people know, here we are. If you want to see us, we're here.
Yeah.
And that means we don't have to go anywhere. They could just come here. And we did that, which thank God we did it, because most of that video was filmed with my iPhone. I think I had iPhone 5 back then. So imagine, and just some scenes I had my wife film from the front, where it was filming Melody sing. And, she didn't even know that because she's not musical, when it was Sam solo, because I had to be by the mixer, so I couldn't film. It was Sam solo, and she was filming Ethan or Justin. I'm like, focus on the solo, because people want to see how he shreds. And that's why we don't have on Crazy Train the shredding parts.
Surprised nobody's accused you that actually wasn't Sam.
So it's just, my wife didn't know it. She was like, I thought I'm doing good. I said, it's good. It's good. It's just like, I wish it would have, And that Crazy Train, CBS, the World's Best, the casting director saw it and they wanted a family band that, and they gave us the name, the First Family of Rock. Okay. Some people are like, hey, you love the First Family. It's not us coming out with that name. They're the ones that gave us that name. And, she says she saw Crazy Train. And then she saw Stuart Copeland, because I put a reel, how I was filming when Stuart Copeland was playing. And she was like, man. And she called me and I was like, look, we want you to come to the CBS studios and audition for, I said, just bring an acoustic guitar. I said, look, first I didn't know who she really was or how big that was. I was like, look, I don't have time for this. I'm not going to bring a metal band and play with an acoustic guitar. I said, if you want us to play, we've got to play metal with drums and electric. Like, yeah, but it's like audition. Actually, they auditioned in the same place because they had the oval table and he said American Idol in the middle. And she told us that the same spot where we auditioned, Kelly Clarkson auditioned on the same spot. And she said, I gave her a suggestion. I said, look, we have a small PA system that we use on the pier. Let us bring that. We'll set up the drums and we'll audition. She was like, okay, okay. She really wanted Liliac. And I was like, okay, we'll do it your way. So I remember arriving there. But when we arrived in, they opened the gate and I was like, oh my gosh, we're talking about CBS, big studios. And they took us with the golf carts. And I was like, man, this is not a... At first, I thought it was just like, okay, I guess we'll do it. And they took us with the elevator. They got us all kind of badges. And I'm like, man. And so I said, give us like 45 minutes. We'll set up here. So we did. So we set up the drums, everything, the micro, exactly how we do it on the pier. And then she comes with the two other ladies that were producer of the show. And Melody was like, what? We're going to perform in front of 3 people? And she was like, what do you mean? I said, well, on the pier, we perform at least in front of 200-300 people. I'm like, okay. So I said, all right. So she went in the office and told all the editors, all the camera guys, everybody, and they fill out the whole room. And that's when, they started and Melody in it, and all aboard. Man, everybody pull out their phones because first they were like, okay, what we're doing here, And then when everybody was with their phones out, and oh man, they were like rocking out.
Yeah.
Rocking out. And then when they finished, it's like, can you do another one? And, and they did Enter Sandman again. They were blown away.
Yeah.
And that's how we got in. And, I remember the casting director said, you know what? Whatever you did a good job because I bring here a lot of, fame, internet YouTubers that are super famous. They got millions of views and whatever they do on YouTube is great. But when I brought them here in front of the casting director and the producer, they weren't sounding the same.
Yeah.
They were like scared.
Nervous
But for my kids, they've been doing it so much on the pier, they weren't nervous at all. They're like, okay, let's do it. We've been doing this so many times. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are asking Melody, are you nervous before going on stage? No, I mean, sometimes Ethan and Justin are arguing with each other, like, because they always fight on stage. And I'm like, back there by the mixer, hey, guys, stop it. You guys got to perform, and you guys are fighting over your Fortnite game. Like
it's showtime.
Showtime. Like, they're so comfortable on stage because they've done it so many times. It's like normal.
They grew up there pretty much.
Yeah, they grew up on stage.
Nice.
And that's how we got that TV show. But during that time, somebody on Facebook shared Enter Sandman and said, check these kids out. And all of a sudden, I check our YouTube account, like, see, Enter Sandman is 50,000 views. Like, what? The next day is 75, then 100,000. I'm like, man. I said, it's going viral. And Crazy Train was catching on from behind. Now both of them one of them has 13 million, the other one's going to have 14 million views. So it just caught on fire and it wouldn't stop after that. It just kept going. And so we did the TV show. It was tough because we lost. So we made it from the first round with a trooper, and then they put Liliac against a gospel singer that had like a background because they want to do group against group.
Okay.
So she was a singer, but they said, let's just bring like a gospel choir, and automatically she's going to be a group. But they portray Liliac as we are the evil, the dark, and she's the light because they're all dressed in white. We were dressed in black like we usually do, and like, oh. And I remember Melody says, they make us look like we're actually the bad or the evil. And so I know Fade Hill really loved her, the gospel singer. But the crazy part is that my friend that was with us, because you're allowed to bring a guest, he went and talked to the gospel singers, the choir. Say, hey, so how long you guys been performing with her? And like, what are you talking about, man? We're actors. We don't even know how to sing. We just pretend we're singing. Everything was pre-recorded. So we were all like dressed in white, pretend we're...
wow.
And that really... And he told me about it. Because at the end, they didn't show. Because, when we got eliminated, they didn't show, but they interviewed me. And they said, well, what'd you think about the decision? And I went off. Even my wife was like, stop, you just make yourself look like a sore loser. I was like, because I told them, I was like, I just don't understand, and I can. How can a karaoke singer
That's
I
dishonest.
said,
That's
and actors, and I revealed the whole thing. They never show that because they're like, man, they're gonna get caught cheating here. Gets to win over a live band.
yeah.
They're live. They play every instrument. Back then, we didn't even use backing tracks.
Well, it
was
sounds
all
like the
live,
whole thing
raw.
was pretty much they had it scripted, and that was the
I
way it was
think it
going to
was
go.
scripted. I think it was scripted. So, it was sad because for like 2 weeks, we're like hurt. We're like, man, because I really thought that was it. You know, that will make Liliac. That's their career. Because I remember on the pier, I always talked about, man, one day something's gonna happen and Liliac is gonna be big and it's gonna get out of the pier. And I thought that was it, and it wasn't. But they filmed everything in, I think it was in October, and they were supposed to air it the next year. I think January, March. So in the meantime, I said, look, let's get the original album out, Chain of Thorns, and so we, in case when it gets televised, then they get to see and buy our album.
Yeah.
Because even though we did the cover songs, because that's what they actually wanted us to do, the cover songs. Because we say, hey, we also have said, no, you got to do songs that people know, because then they can judge you based on what you wrote.
Which is understandable for a competition like that.
And I remember we wanted to do Crazy Train because that was the big thing. And Sharon Osbourne wouldn't want to let us do it. And they asked her, I remember the customer, she said, I asked her 6 times. And I think it was a problem with was it The View or something, the show she was on the same.
Oh,
and
okay.
I guess the CEO was sexually harassing one of the ladies, and she got off the show. She got upset. So she's so upset with them because she was like, check out the video. Actually, it's going to make this song be even more popular.
So she didn't want the network to make money off of it, basically, is what.
I don't know she said, well, the only person, that's what she said to them. The only person who's going to play Crazy Train is going to be Ozzy, and Ozzy himself. And that was it. So they already set the stage with the train station, the railroad.
Yeah.
Everything was set for Crazy Train. And now they spend money to put that together. They're like, what are we going to do? But we had to give them a bunch of songs that they had to ask for the release. So Iron Maiden was the first to say, yes, I want them to do The Trooper. So we ended up doing The Trooper with the stage looking for Crazy Train. That was our first show, which was, now the Rainbow in the Dark, they let us do it. They set up the rainbow, like all the rainbow. It was very beautiful.
Sure.
And they even, Abigail's drums was, what do you call that, when they went up, like, I think about, I don't know how many, 20 feet in the air.
Oh, she was on the risers going?
She was
nice.
on the riser, yeah. And that was amazing. They actually wanted the guitar and the bass guitar to have fire coming out of. And they were like, man, but, and I said, well, let's do it. And they were like, well, we think, they all have long hair. If they catch...
Somebody could die.
I was like, no. I was like, oh, because I knew how important it is for metal fans. If they see fire coming out of those guitars, and it's over.
They're like, we'll sign a waiver. We're fine.
And at that time, we didn't want to cut our hair, So, so that's why they didn't do it. And I was like kind of sad about it.
Sure.
I really wanted. I mean, I was very excited. I was very proud of them. And it was a phenomenal moment. But this is one of the things that I thought that was very interesting. I was like, look, I know they're going to play Rainbow in the Dark and they're going to cut it down because they had us cut down. They only let you perform 2 minutes.
Sure.
And I said, man, right now Liliac was already getting famous with Crazy Train, with Enter Sandman. We released The Trooper, Paranoid. Everybody was like, whoa. So Somebody to Love, we released Chain of Thorns. People are buying that. And I was like, if they see Liliac doing the short version of Rainbow in the Dark, they're going to get upset and they'll think it's our fault that we cut the song down.
Yeah.
And I said to the band, let's record and do a full video of Rainbow in the Dark. And that way, if they say something, we'll say, look, we did the whole song. They're the ones that made us cut it.
Okay, so you put that out before the show. Okay.
So I remember Melody was kind of sick and was like, Dad, can we just wait another 5 days until I get... Say, Melody, we need to do this and release it so we know. And actually, when she did Rainbow in the Dark, she wasn't 100% Melody. But, we recorded it and I we talked and I said, I want you to really give your everything because So when we did it, and I remember we put it out on YouTube. That's the first time, probably the only time, when I was actually getting chills, and my eyes were tearing up, because it was crazy how he went viral, and seeing all these comments, whole like metal fans were just blown away.
Yeah. You told
And
me she wasn't 100% when you guys did that?
yeah, she wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah, because she kept asking, and I was like, no, we got to do it, because so we put it out 2 weeks before the TV show, and it blew up so big. I mean, we got a career after that. Like, then everything led that we got a lot of fans. Um, and then when we did the show, the TV show, that didn't really blow up for us, but the viral video that we did, it did.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized that, look, actually TV shows doesn't really make you that big anymore.
Right.
Which is true. When we went on America's Got Talent, they said that when American Idol came out with Kelly Clarkson, and they used to have 150 million viewers viewing the show. Now I asked, so how many do you have now? So if we get 3 million or 5 million, we're lucky.
Wow.
He said America's Got Talent is like 3 million views. 3 million viewers a show. And I was like, oh man, that's not enough. Because out of those, how many are metal fans and rock fans?
Right.
Out of 150 million, I'm sure at least 1 million are metal fans or something. So I saw that, well, our chances to really make it off of that show are very slim, which it was. I saw a bump of 5,000, 10,000 subscribers, but it wasn't. But when Rainbow in the Dark hit, that was the big thing.
Sure.
That was a huge. I mean, even his son messaged us, and he said if my dad was alive, he would have loved you guys, invited.
Oh, that's
over.
awesome.
He said he would have talked to Melody about vocals. He would have been all over you guys. That's what he said.
What an honor.
And now people are saying, oh, Liliac is just a copy and trying to live off of it. When did Dio approve of it? Dio approved. Everybody did, because they're happy that, they have somebody who could carry on the legacy.
Yep. Now, you mentioned going on America's Got Talent. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you guys won the first round.
Yes, we did. We did. We went through the first round, and the pandemic hit. And they said, well, we want you to do the second round, but do it from home. And I was like, how? So just, set up the laptop, and I said, I can do it, because we just got threatened by the cops. We did a live stream before, and we were living upstairs. And I guess the one downstairs called the cops. And in the middle of the live stream, the cops knock at the door. Probably
I was watching that live, and I'm like, what is going on?
So Melody thought that was the mailman bringing some package, and she ran to the door, and then she said, Dad, the police is here. You got to go. And I went outside, and he was like, look, man, we've been called so many times because of the pandemic, stay at home. Everybody's staying at home. They're fighting all the time. We're getting tired of being called in. And look, I said, like, can we finish at least the live stream? It's like, you could do whatever you want, but if they call me again, $3,000 fee.
Oh.
Ticket. So I was like, oh man. And I said, okay, I'll try to turn it down. It's like, do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know. So we had to kind of cut short that live stream and get it done. But that had so many views as well. Like, people like, yeah, people at home were like, yeah, that's metal when they call the cops. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to pay $3,000. I don't have that money right now.
That's when you started GoFundMe. If you want this to continue.
Exactly, right?
But it gives you street cred. That's the good thing with it. So
I should have thought about that. Let's do it. So that's why I said to the casting director, I said, first of all, there's no way you could judge a band recorded by a laptop.
Right.
There's no way you could, I'm thinking like, okay, if we do real drums in an apartment, that's going to cover everything. If we do electric drums, you put them to the speaker and you hear a lot of click.
Yeah. You're going to hear the clicking and
it doesn't sound good. And then the vocals, I mean, maybe we could get a portable PA system. I said it wouldn't work. But another thing that really scared me, and I didn't really, I want to pull out, because when we won the first round and we went in the green room so the kids could change, I an attorney came to me and he said, "Here's an agreement. If you want to keep going, you need to sign this." And I was like, "Can I have my attorney read?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But just to let you know, because they don't want the winner to win it without signing anything, because then the America's Got Talent can make money off of that.
Right.
So if that winner goes viral, or there's a lot of sales with the Got Talent show, then they're not making anything. So when I gave it to my attorney actually called me and it's like, "Look, I'm gonna put it this way. Do you want your family to be raped?" I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" That's what exactly that contract is saying. I said, "What do you mean?"
Oh,
I said, "Look, first of all, every $5 million that you're gonna make, the band makes, you get $50,000. That's 1%."
you got to be kidding me.
That's what it said in the
So they
contract.
keep 99%.
Yes,
Oh,
but to make $5 million, that could take years.
yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, look, if they then they say that you have to work, you get 1 day off a week, but they find you work. So I said I have to go with them because they're minors. I can't work in my studio. I'm not going to make money. How are we going to survive? So I
So
definitely,
60, you're supposed to split 50 grand over a few years. Good luck.
no. So I was like, no, we're not. And I know some fans like, "Oh, Papa Liliac is so stupid. Simon Cowell could have made him so big," but I don't think he's. Even if we would have won the thing, I don't think Simon Cowell would have known how to promote a metal band.
Right.
I mean, you see, show me one artist recently, like in the last 10 years, that is big like Kelly Clarkson or Carrie Underwood from American Idol,
Exactly.
American Got Talent, or The Voice. None of them.
I'm sure not even besides the 99% money, I'm sure they had other things where they controlled everything, the music that you
Oh
made.
yeah, I mean, you're
And it's
signed
like
to them.
then you're stuck. You're in musical prison, for lack of a better term.
And that's when we said, "Let's look, we're stuck here. Let's work on a new album." And we did the Queen of Hearts, which actually, when we released it, it got number 38 on iTunes top, best-selling album. And We Are the Children, when we released it as a single, was during that time with the Black Lives Matter and the crazy stuff. And that song was really speaking out for people that was against all that stuff.
Yep.
And it got like number 1 on Amazon bestseller. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was a great feeling, and we were excited. I said, "Look, we're doing it on our own." And that's when we said we're just going to go independently without the help of anybody. And we figured out, and that's when actually we moved to Georgia
Nice.
around that time. The pandemic was really hard, especially because, I was thinking if we wouldn't have made it, I don't know, the pier was closed. Everything was closed. I said,
Right.
we
What
wouldn't
are
be
you gonna
able to
do?
go back to the pier, and that was the thing after the show. And when Rainbow the Dark blew up, we had a radio interview. And at that point, we said, we're on the Santa Monica pier, because we were still on the pier. It blew up, but we're like, we didn't. And if anybody wants to come and see us live. And he was like, "Look, why don't you guys go on tour?" And I was like, "Well, how are we going to do that? We don't have a booking agent. We don't have anything." And it was like, not everybody could come to the pier, but you guys got to go like every other band. Go to other people's, go their city and do shows. And then I said to myself, well, I don't know if the band is ready for touring, and I don't have a booking agent. But then I thought to myself, what about if this doesn't come around anymore?
Right.
And it's going to
You
fade
don't want
out.
to miss the opportunity.
And I didn't want to miss the opportunity. So I told the band, all right, let's do a video where you announce and just say, if you want to see us live, go and request Liliac at the venue close to you, and tell them to write an email to our manager, Papa Liliac. And they did. We put that video out. I was receiving like 7 to 10 emails a day.
Wow.
I never went to school to be a booking agent, to be not even a manager. Like a lot of people, I don't even consider myself like a real manager. I'm more of a music producer.
Sure.
Because that's what I've done for a living, and that's what I'm doing. I'm producing the band. But it's like, okay, they didn't have a manager. I said, somebody has to do it. to make sure they're not going to get screwed over. So I just took that job because we had no choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I downloaded a contract for booking, like one of those drafts. I put Liliac's logo on it. I downloaded a writer and I started singing, and I booked 38 shows in 2019 without any knowledge or nothing. And I just figured out, I kept looking at the map. All right, we're going there and there. And I did it that we usually did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the rest of the week, we were just staying in hotels so they could do their online school. So it was business-wise, it wasn't a good decision, but I didn't care for the money at that point. I was just like, as long as they could get their school done and we could still do this, it was going to be a great experience. So it was a little homesick because, crossing from California and doing the East Coast and Midwest, we were here for a few months and not being home and being in hotels for 2-3 months.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But we started with San Francisco, our first show, and we started with a very tragic thing because after we did the show, we wanted to go visit San Francisco, and we had our van, all our equipment inside. The kids had their laptops that they do their school, online school, their backpacks with their retainers and everything. And we parked in a garage, where at the mall. So while we were going, when we got back, they broke into the van and they stole all. I had camera that I shot Enter Sandman and Rainbow in the Dark, all those music videos. They stole all the electronic stuff because I think what they did, they probably sold it and bought drugs and stuff.
Exactly.
They didn't steal the equipment. They didn't need musical equipment. All they did, they went for the laptops, for the camera. The kids. Things
that are easy to liquidate.
Yeah, the kids were kind of crying because they didn't, that was very shocking. And they're like, they took my retainers, with their teeth. And, whatever they had in their backpack. And, now they're. So I remember that we did a GoFundMe because actually a fan said, hey, look, don't worry, man. Just, fans will be happy to help you. And we definitely raised within 2 days, $20-something thousand that we were able to buy the cameras back and everything. But then we got criticized by other people. Oh, they just made that up. There's no way they got broken. What do you think? Don't you? And, I tried to get insurance, and it's so hard to get insurance, man. Like, I give them the list of all the equipment, and, we don't do this kind of insurance. And I tried to get insurance, I couldn't.
Well, and you're going from state to state to state, and that makes it tougher.
Yes,
and
that's what I'm saying. Because you work for insurance companies, so you know how it's not that easy as people think.
Right, exactly.
But we got criticized for it.
That was one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today was everybody has this idea of you're a band, you're famous, you must be filthy stinking rich, millions of dollars rolling in. And knowing you guys know another artist, that just simply isn't the case. I mean, tell me about like what it really costs to go on a tour like that.
Oh man. Oh wow. Well, the thing is, the reason we can do the tour independently and the way we're doing it is because we're doing everything ourselves. But to rent a tour bus, it's very expensive. And just the tour bus itself, I think it's around $24,000 a month.
Ooh.
But with all the fuel and all the stuff that you have to pay for
and
it,
a driver if you have
and
one.
the drive, and that's the thing. When you rent a bus, you gotta hire a driver. You gotta have the driver that the company is with. They won't let you drive the bus, and the driver charges like $450 a day. Then he drives for a certain amount of hours, and then you have to fly him back and bring another driver and things like that. Or if you go over 8 hours, they call overdrive. So you have to pay him like $450 plus half of that. So that's how much? Probably about $700.
Yeah.
So it gets very expensive. So from what I've heard and I calculated, it's around depends on what kind of, like probably the cheapest would be around $50,000 to $80,000. If you want a fancy bus, it's going to be very expensive. But even a regular, just a normal older bus, you're going to spend about $50,000 a month just for the bus driver, fuel, and all that stuff.
Wow.
So that's why we bought ourselves the tour bus, and we actually found it for $50,000. And it used to be Marilyn Manson's bus in the 90s.
Okay. So you bought Marilyn Manson's bus, and now you got your Christian family taking over Marilyn Manson's bus.
To be honest,
Did you do an exorcism on it before?
we did. We bring a priest in there, and then he's did this thing. But literally, like that tour bus, because we toured this year in February with John 5, and he was in Marilyn Manson. Actually, was on that bus. Because at the end of the tour, we asked him, "Hey, you want to come and autograph the bus?" He was like, "Yeah." And he came in and was like, "My gosh, I can't believe." And he showed us where he slept, where Marilyn Manson slept. It was like, and his Sam was like, "Well, can you tell us how it was on this bus?" He was like, "Nope, I'm not gonna say a word."
You're like, you don't want to know.
He said, "This is a crime scene right here. What you guys have?" And he couldn't believe it. That I said, "Man, a nice family like you guys have this bus. You guys have no idea what happened here." So. But we like that bus. We liked it a lot because it has so much history. Also, because when we announced that we bought Marilyn Manson's bus, Marilyn Manson's ex-manager gave us a little bit of history of that bus, and he said that Nine Inch Nails had it first.
Okay.
So then Marilyn Manson bought it and used it because we still have that piece of duct tape above the thermostat where he says keep it at 68. Because that's how we want to keep the buzz cool at 68, no more or less. And we left that there. It's an orange duct tape. And that's where we had John 5 autograph right above that duct tape. And he said that Foo Fighters also shared that buzz with men. Like they used it for a period of time too.
No kidding.
So he has a lot of history. You know what I mean? It's old, but it's gold.
Hey, if it runs well, and that's the important thing.
Yeah. And it's amazing, we're working on the 4th original album, and it's coming out really good. It's coming out really good. As you know, I showed you that song "Holy Odyssey." We're taking a different route.
That song's gonna be epic, folks. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it was. Some fans asked for it, and the booking agent said, "Hey, man, why don't you guys kind of go back to the roots? Like, remember Zeppelin? Almost every song was like 7-8 minutes long. You said Meatloaf.
Yep. Bat Out of Hell, and
remember Metallica used to do songs like 2-3 minutes of an intro, and then you get into the song. It's like what?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a phenomenal journey, and because. I understand a lot of people go for hit songs and catchy songs, but to me, catchy songs or radio hits is just a song that was kind of, you heard it before, sounds similar.
A dime a dozen.
Yeah. And, it's good, but I don't think people's going to really emotionally be impacted by it.
I agree. And we talked about that. It's like you got those songs that 50 years later, like Dream On and Painted Black, that are epic and stand the test of time, and that's what you want to have.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, to be honest, we blew up on those classic songs and we performed them, and I don't know if who covers Justin Bieber right now. But
for good reason.
There's a lot of amazing songs. It was interesting back then. There was something about whatever they were drinking or eating or doing, that they were writing songs that good. I mean, look at Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, or look at Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. 8 minutes long. I remember when we did the song, we covered it, and Lilac made it their own. They tuned the bass, the guitars lower, and made it heavier. And the whole video was just the band playing on the mountain, the Arabia Mountain. And I remember when we were editing, I was like, man, who likes to watch a band? The whole video, there's no story, nothing. It's just filming 8 minutes long. But people love it, man. Only good comments. And they're like, some people like, wow, you restored faith in me that Liliac could bring metal back or could carry on the torch. They don't get bored of it.
Yeah.
But the song is phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. That leads me to one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today. And you mentioned that I believe it's the 4th original album that you guys are working on.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you guys, it's like some people can't shake the label of calling you a cover band. And I don't understand, because that's 4 albums of original music. Why do you think that for some people you just can't shake that?
Yeah, that's a very good question because a lot of the bands started with cover songs. The
Everybody
Beatles,
does.
the Beatles put out a cover band, a covers album. Metallica put out a cover album.
Yep. Garage
We
Inc.
know Van Halen, that was their biggest hit with "You Really Got Me," which is a
Hmm.
cover. And so many, and actually recently in 2012, Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness legend, he just put a cover album out, a
Yep.
whole, of musician that, and you know, like what does it take for Liliac to be credited as an original band? I mean, they're working on the fourth original song,
Yeah.
and we used to write original songs before we even did those covers. The reason we did the covers because we're on the Santa Monica Pier to attract people. People are going there to just watch, or they're just going for recreation. They're not going for you or for other performers, but you're there. How do you get their attention? And when they hear the songs that they know and like, they're like,
Exactly.
oh man, that's crazy track. I gotta go see who's playing it. And then they see the kids and they get hooked on the band.
Yeah. And I mean, nobody calls Disturbed a cover band because they did Sound of Silence, or
Uh,
Shinedown a cover band because they did Simple Man. So
right.
why? What's the difference? I mean, every band, everybody who picks up a guitar for the first time, they're not going to crank out something original. That's just not how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. When you learn how to play the guitar, you got to learn on cover songs.
Hmm.
I mean, that same thing with the drums and nobody you gotta take lessons and I just want to learn everything original. I mean, and even the teacher was like, well, you don't even know how to play the guitar. How are we gonna write an
You don't even know
original song?
theory yet.
Yeah. So same thing with everything else. I mean, if you want to learn how to play piano or violin, you're gonna learn probably the covers from Beethoven, Bach, and Mozart, and all those amazing composers.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
So, what would you like to say directly to somebody who's heard and believes Liliac's just a cover band? What do you want to tell them to try to convince them to give them a shot as an original band?
Well, if they want to call it like a cover band, probably they're the best cover band out there.
There you go.
Well, the thing is look, Liliac writes great, amazing original music.
Hmm.
And yes, to find yourself as an original band, you have to write maybe a bunch of albums. Same thing happened with Kansas. The
Hmm.
label was patient enough because they put an album, two album. Nothing happened until they wrote those legendary songs like "Dust in the Wind" and what's the other one? Their biggest hit.
Carry on, my wayward son.
Yes, and when they wrote that, then everything changed. But the label could have, after their first album, because they were just writing whatever they could write at that point. They said, "Look, man, it was a flop. I'm
Yeah.
gonna drop you." They were patient enough to keep. They believed in them enough, so these fans have to believe in Liliac. It's a young band. They're still, we have three albums. We're putting the fourth original album, and they're still finding their way there.
Yeah.
With their music. But also, I see how it is. If you look at the glass, you know that saying, looking at if it's half full, or
Yep.
you look at it is half empty. If you come up with a criticism, I want to criticize this band, or you have to give a new song a chance. Because
Yeah.
I've heard sometimes new songs coming out like, but let me hear again, and then later on you end up loving it.
Yeah.
You have to give it a chance because it's new. You never heard it before. And that's what I think with this new song, Holy Odyssey, which is going to be, in my opinion, a masterpiece, an
I
epic
agree.
song. Everybody I showed it to is just like blown away because it's not just one of those catchy tunes. It's something that takes you on a journey, on a spiritual journey. And, like the lyrics says, you got to be stronger than this. And it's just phenomenal. I can't wait. This is probably going to be the biggest song Lilac ever done.
Yeah. I
And it's
agree.
long.
And I don't want to influence people because we heard it last night. There was a few of us in the room and we all kind of had ideas of little bits and pieces that reminded us of songs, music that we loved. And I don't even want to say because I don't want to influence people. I want them to take their own when they
Yeah.
hear it.
Yeah.
But when it comes out, I want you guys to come back to this video and put in the comments some of the things that you pulled from that song and what it meant to
Oh,
you.
yeah. I would definitely like to see their feedback because I see music more of like like food sometimes.
Hmm.
It's like I always say, those big hits that you hear on the radio is like the popular fast food, like let's say McDonald's. We know that now they have in Romania, everywhere. And actually, in Romania, when I went to McDonald's, when I went visiting, they serve beer at McDonald's
Really?
because that's a rule in Romania. There's no restaurant without alcohol. And I'm like, okay. And they ask you, well, what do you want with your burger? Do you with your meal? Do you want do you want a Coors Light or or a Bud Light or you want a soda? So uh, let's say McDonald's is very popular. Fast food is very popular. That's how I see the hit songs on the radio. They're popular. Everybody could, knows about it, could eat it. But I feel like music like this that are more on. It's almost like you go to a high end restaurant. Not everybody's gonna probably want to eat that kind of food, but I feel like it's you gotta have the salad first, appetizer, then you gotta have the meal, and then you have the dessert, and you have your coffee or wine, your this and that. So with songs like this, you have to have patience, time to listen to it. When it's at 8 minutes, you gotta have patience. You can't
Let
be
it
like,
digest.
oh, well, hit me to the chorus, or
Yeah.
you can't do that because these songs, it's like you don't go to a high restaurant to just eat the meal. You want to get to there, and
Yeah.
in time, you have to have patience. You can't just rush through it. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
that's how I see it. And I want to make music like that. I want Liliac to make music like that.
Absolutely.
Complex.
And it
No
shined
more.
through. It really did.
Yeah.
It allowed them to individually as musicians and then as a whole as a band shine at different
Oh, yeah.
parts. Where
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like every single instrument it took center stage, including vocals at different points. And I loved that
Wow.
about the song.
And like you said, the feelings that he gave you.
Hmm.
You said at one point he gave you a feeling of, you said,
Like Jesus Christ Superstar.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then later give you another feeling of
The
Devil
Devil Went Down to Georgia. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Constantine, right, from the
Yep.
movie. It's amazing when you have those kind of aspects of it.
Absolutely.
And you saw David Fisher was like, "Oh, why won't you cut a little piece for the radio?" And I'm like, "I don't want to touch that." It's like, why would you cut? Which
It's not
part
that
of
song.
Bohemian
That's not the
Rhapsody
song.
would you cut out of,
Exactly.
or Heaven and Hell?
Exactly.
You know,
Like, that's not the point. I mean, the point of the song is the journey, is the odyssey.
yeah. So it's amazing. I mean, I think that finding your way, and then once you know what you're about, in this, I think things will change.
Sure.
Things will change, and I think this will be. I think this is it. Like they say, this is it.
Yeah. And talking about change, I kind of want to go back a little bit. Like you mentioned, Abigail's taking some time away. She's going to have
Yeah.
a baby. You brought on Paul, and Paul's done a fantastic job.
Yes.
But was there some nervousness of, okay, we're bringing in somebody that's not part of the family?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that going to mess with the dynamic? How did you guys get through that?
Yeah, we had to audition, a few drummers, and we did. And, I also was worried about how he's going to get along with the band. 'Cause
Mhm.
that's very important too. Because besides being a great, talented drummer or a musician, you have to get along with your bandmates because you're a band. It's not
Yeah.
only about you or about her. When you're a band, it's totally different. Everybody's important on stage, and
Yep.
everybody's, of course, the lead singer is the lead singer and is the lead, band member. But everybody's part is very, very, very important in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to take that role, so when we auditioned, he was 16 years old. So I was nervous about that because I'm like, I'm already having 2 minors here that I got now 3 minors. Like, oh man, I couldn't wait for Ethan and Justin to grow over 18. Now I have to deal with another minor. But the father was, he was like trustworthy and he's gonna turn 18 probably next year too. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then because we still have sometimes issues with venues, like, oh, we can't have a play, especially in Utah, where there's a lot of Mormons. Can't really get shows that we want to get because of you're not 18,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
and they don't allow that.
Aren't there a lot of like dry counties anyway? Like, what's the issue?
It's weird. It's weird, to be honest with you. But I think there's a bright future, and I can't wait, for Liliac's fans to see the outcome.
I agree.
But with hard work and dedication, and as you know, we're being independent, and I left that door open too. If there's a record label that is interested, but it has to be the right deal.
Yeah.
Because I did have an interview with, well, not an interview. We went out and a meeting with Godsmack manager, because some friend of mine connected me with him, and he told me, it was like, look, the only way it would work if a record label, whoever the A&R, whoever signs the band, they have to be their champion. And I said, what do you mean by that? He was like, somebody like you. You work for them 24/7. You don't put time on how, I'm going to work only this much. You do anything for them. If you have somebody like that at the label, then the band could be successful.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you're just going to be another band on the label.
Yeah.
And you're going to be struggling.
If you're one on the roster that they care about,
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes with booking agents could be like that. I see that if the booking agent really loves you and cares and wants to push you, he's trying to get all kind of shows, the best deals, the best shows. If not, you're just going to be kind of waiting for shows and it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think the new agent we have, Alex from TKO, is really a champion for Liliac on the booking agent aspect. I mean, he just booked Welcome to Rockville. We're going to play the same day with Lincoln Park. We're going to do a lot of big festivals next year. And also we're flying to Germany. They booked Wacken, that's how they call it.
Wacken Open Air.
Wacken Open Air. Alcatraz in Belgium. And he's working on more stuff. And that's exciting.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be a bright, bright future for Liliac. And, and especially with this new music, it's going to change everything.
Did you ever imagine those days when you were on the Santa Monica Pier that you'd be playing Wacken Open Air and you'd be playing Rockville? And
that's a good question, because I didn't think that far. And you know what's crazy? Because I had musicians coming to my studio and they knew the story of Liliac. And I remember, Melody's bass teacher. He was Sam's guitar teacher for a little bit, but Sam kind of surpassed him, and it was like, okay, and he was amazed of how fast Sam was shredding and how good he got in short period of time. And then he was like, look, man, you're not going to make it off the pier. He told me that literally. You have to do, he was in about 3 or 5 bands himself. So you got to do the gigs like we do at bars and this. And I was like, well, I was very stubborn. I was like, look, I'm not going to take my kids in bars or pay to play. In Whiskey A Go, you have to pay to play. I said, I believe that Liliac from this pier is going to make it straight on touring on big stage. And he was like, oh, okay. And I did call him when I was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I called him. I was like, hey, we did it without even doing what you said. I was like, man, you're crazy. He was like, I believe you now. Is like, you were stubborn, but for a good reason. So sometimes you just got to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Believe, work hard, go for it. And I think it could happen.
Absolutely. And stick to your principles. And you guys have done that. I know we talked before about, there's been, and we won't name names, but there's been bands that toured with you and they didn't act on stage in a way that was, we'll say, honorable. And you were like, that's it. We can't be a part of that. And
yeah.
So, I mean, I know that can't be easy because you feel like you're probably turning down opportunities, but still, how important is it to you as not only a manager role, but as their father to keep that up?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, Liliac is known as a clean band, because that's what I'm trying to explain to my family and relatives, but they don't understand, because, I don't think, not even 1% that doing metal music, you'll go to hell.
Right.
I mean, why would that? I mean, the thing is, like I said, this is music about, we're all dealing with love and life. Why would I,
It's a style of music.
Yeah. And I mean, I respect bands that do religious music and Christian lyrics, and that'll be great. But I just don't think that if this is your job that you make a living off of, what else do you want us to do?
Mm-hmm.
See, because even in the Christian music, it's not that easy to make it in the industry. I talked to some, because I used to record professional Christian singers and asked them, what does it take to, it's the same thing. You just got to probably cover some famous Christian songs and go viral and exactly like everything else.
Yep.
So if this was our, I mean, if God made it happen for us to, like I said, we started with pop music, but it just changed and it was meant to be,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you foresee? I mean, obviously, like you said, we've got Lock and Open Air. You guys are going to be doing some of the cruises, some of the rock cruises. What do you see within the next couple of years? You know,
Ooh.
that the new music, what's the next step for Liliac?
Well, with the new music, I mean, like I said, I think that I would really love, I would rather do music like I told you, those epic masterpieces that tell a story more
Mhm.
than, so if that's gonna open doors to go that direction, I think that we could build a phenomenal fan base because I definitely want Liliac to grow bigger than they are. I would love it to be independently because we already know what we're doing and we're comfortable with working with each other. We already figure out how to do the tours and make it efficient and even saving a lot of money instead of, because you hire a production company, they charge a lot of money.
Mhm.
And this way, like for example, owning the bus, we're just paying the fuel. We don't have to pay the driver to rent in or anything. So I think this could lead to great things. We just, we need to do something that uh, will get all those fans that like good music on board with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm going full circle back to the beginning of our
yeah,
conversation. You're talking about what your father went through, what your family went
yeah,
through to leave what was then a communist country to come here for freedom. And you see a lot of people who, for lack of a better term, are taking that for granted here. And you've seen what it's like when you don't have that freedom. You've
oh
lived
yeah,
it.
oh yeah,
What
oh
would you
yeah.
like to say to those people?
Man, I mean, that's more of a political kind of a thing, but um, well, the thing is, I appreciate it because I think here if you work hard and you're intelligent and you're passionate. How about that? Passionate and work hard. I think you can achieve any goal you want. Which back then, Romania, probably I would have never been able to. So this, I've been here my whole life. More, I mean, I was 12 years in Romania. Now I'm 44. So how many years I've been here? 24 years, I think, or
Mm-hmm.
34 years.
30, 32
No,
years.
32 years. So most of my life I've been an American and I love that we have all these opportunities and I stand by that. And I don't understand when people don't appreciate it, to be honest with you. So uh I really I'm happy to be, standing for America, and I appreciate it. I mean, there's no other place I would rather live. And you know, when I hear about people complaining or not liking it, I'm like, probably you don't understand what you have,
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, Florin, this has been awesome, and I know how close the band is with their fans, with Fangs,
Yeah.
as they're lovingly referred to. And before we leave, I just want to kind of get from you, what the fan community, the patrons, everybody who is a Liliac fan, what they mean to you guys as a band and a
Oh
family.
man, we love our fans. We love our fans very much because I remember when we used to make music before they went viral and you make the song and you put out and nobody cared and you were like, man, I would love it if I would see a lot of views and a lot of comments that see that people actually like. So it's very important because any band or any artist without the fans, they're nothing. I mean, they have no career. So when I see bands that they're treating their fans in a negative way or bad, or I just don't understand it.
Yeah,
I don't understand it because you know if you wouldn't have that, you wish you would have that
absolutely.
because that's that's the one that's supporting your career. So we have Patreons that just loves Liliac unconditionally and supportive, and from all over the world, from Australia, Germany, other countries. Of course, most of them are from U.S. and I get to talk to them almost every morning on Discord, because Liliac has a Discord. Once you join Patreon, you have access to Liliac's Discord. So I get there and have my coffee and I chat with them for like half an hour before I start working. And it's amazing. And the band gets to talk to them, does a live stream or a Discord chat every Friday. So I see that they're like a community. They got used to each other. They talk, they enjoy their time, and it's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So anybody that wants to join Liliac's Patreon, I'm telling you, is they could be part of not only supporting the band, but actually for themselves. They, get all kind of entertainment, and all those people there on Discord page, they became friends.
Yep.
When somebody's in the, has a problem health wise, the other ones are worried and trying to call each other. It's amazing. It's like a family.
Yeah. And it's cool when you see that develop.
Yeah. It's all in the name of Liliac. And, we didn't talk about how we came with the name Liliac.
Yeah.
It's actually, because of Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off of a bat. And when my kids were trying to find a name, and we've been looking for a name and we couldn't find one, and we're there at the music store, they were talking about Ozzy Osbourne, and they asked, Dad, how do you say bat in Romanian? And I was like, why? It was like, just how do you say it? I said, Liliac. Oh, that's it. That's the name. So that's what Liliac means. It means bat in Romanian. And, I'm happy that I actually wanted a name that is just one word.
Yeah.
I always like that.
And memorable like that.
And memorable. And I want it to mean something, like how White Snake is, or rat, or I kind of wanted that. And actually an animal or something like that, or the Beatles, right? Or birds or scorpions. And Liliac has a good sound to it as well.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much for
wanting to be
part of this, and for being able to talk about Liliac. And I'm excited. I've always loved music, but I think it's even better that my career turned, that I get to work with my family.
Yep.
And we all, and it was weird because when I was doing my own music, my wife was always concerned and jealous. But now when I'm a family, she never is, because she knows there's no way I could do anything because my kids would. So that was another thing that helped her confidence in me from the beginning.
Very cool. Well, thank you for this opportunity. This is really an honor and a blessing. I appreciate it. And I love that we were able to get the true story of Liliac out to everybody, right from the source of, set aside all the misconceptions. This is the truth of what happened. So I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. And like they said, rock on and rock hard.